we've already talked about how they're going to want to show this offense off.
Yeah.
And I'm going with the over because of that.
And the only thing that you can really say struggled last year for our defense was our backfield.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, our DBs, they got to either show up or get shown off a little bit.
We're hearing about how good they are.
They are good. We also have crazy speed for wide receivers right now and a quarterback that can throw the ball 85 yards.
Well, and they are really good. And we've still been hearing about all these long touchdown passes in practice.
Yes.
It's true. Hey, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not going to talk me into it, though.
I'm not trying to.
I know that usually you can talk me into it.
45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. He's going to go. Holy cow.
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day. Day by day. He gets better and better. We get better and better. Give me the MVP. Give me the MVP. Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out.
You can tell we've been going for a little bit because Matt switched up from the heavy to the light beer.
I ran out. This is what happens when you have a fridge down here is I'm just drinking the leftovers.
There you go. There you go. I hope you enjoyed the last show. This is, 6 hours later, I think is what we're going to put it out. We're throwing the props out there. But first, like usual, Jed usually has an interesting fact, something you might or might not know about the school we're playing. Well, since the school we're playing is Nebraska. Jed, did you come up with anything?
We're playing with ourselves.
We're playing with
just
ourselves.
Say it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Did you know that since 1974, technically since November 23rd, 1973, Nebraska has only been shut out twice?
Since 1973?
Since the end of the 1973 season.
Like just in the spring game? Or
No.
What? Two times since then, it's been zeros on the end of the spring game. That would suck.
We got shut out against Miami in the 92 Orange Bowl, 22-0. And then we got shut out against Arizona State in September 96, 16-0. Those are the only two times since the end of the 73 season that we've been shut out.
We borderline almost got shut out a couple times under Frost.
Yeah. Well, we had that one game with the late field goal against Oklahoma with Bill Callahan where we scored 3 points.
Yep.
And we have not gotten shut out at home since 1968. So those two games were all on the road.
Some good avoidable goose eggs.
That the Arizona State one was at Arizona State, but since 1968 we haven't been shut out either.
That's kind of crazy, actually.
Considering the downturn that we've had over the last 20 years or whatever,
years that we haven't seen a bowl game,
and how bad some of our offenses have been.
Yeah.
Especially over the last 7 years.
Yeah.
Or the last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, all of these bad seasons, we also have not been shut out since 96. So even during some of our worst times, we still have not been shut out.
It's kind of crazy to think 96, like in 96, when you think about how good we were, that we got shut out in that season. That's kind of wild. Especially with T.O.'s offense.
And the quarterback for that 96 game blew it. I mean, but he knows about blow, so.
Jeez.
Hey!
That's Scott Frost. In case you were wondering.
Snowing in April.
Frost. Wow. I thought this was a prop show for a spring game that did not involve any cocaine. I mean, Scott Frost.
I mean, it propped him up.
Moving on to the questions.
The first question I got is pass attempts by the guy that everybody's going to want to see, Dylan Raiola. Initially, I put the number at 9.5 just to see if he was going to go over 10. Because last year we had 5 quarterbacks play. Only 2 of them threw more than 10 passes. That was Richard Torres threw 18 and Sims threw 13. But I did bump the number up to 12.5 for pass attempts by Dylan Raiola.
So when I was thinking about different question ideas for this show, the first one I came up with was how many pass attempts was each one of the 3 scholarship quarterbacks going to get? I think it's going to be very even.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about how long the spring game is going to be, you think about the lack of the number of quarterbacks that we have, I'm going to have to go over just by sheer numbers. Also, the fact that I think they're going to try and show off a little bit more of the fact that we actually can throw the ball this year.
Yeah.
So I'm going over.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say big over for me.
Big over? Like what, 19, 20?
I was thinking 18 or 19, yeah.
Wow.
I think each of the 3 quarterbacks will throw the ball around more. And like you said, we have 2 less.
I mean, unless...
So just by those numbers, taking the exact same number of passes and take 2 quarterbacks away, it's still over.
Unless
Well, we
Raiola
only
throws,
played
5
5
8-yard bombs.
We only played 5 last year.
Yeah.
We're going to play 5 this year. So it's the same number as far as
We're going to play 5 quarterbacks, you think?
well, we only have 5 quarterbacks, so they'll all play.
You think they're all going to play?
Yeah. Because it's, again, especially the second half and in the back end of the second half.
2 freshmen.
They'll cover most of the first half and a piece of the beginning of the second half. But no, they're going to give those other guys. I mean, like I said, Richard Torres, who transferred like right away, he threw 18 passes, but that was like all in the second half because they played the entire second half. So, I really think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be nearly as much as you guys do, but I am going to go with the over just because I think that they are going to try to show off a little bit, and not just show off Dylan Raiola, but show off this offense, because we all have talked ad nauseum about how Satterfield was not able to run his offense last year as a whole, and I think he wants to show it off a little bit.
The other thing that I think that is important here with this spring game, you have to look at the fact that they made a big, heavy push to get some big-time recruits in here this weekend. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be just a run-of-the-mill, boring-ass practice spring game. They are going to show some things off because they want to show, especially some of the offensive players that we have coming in, they want to show how dynamic this offense could actually be, and what they could potentially be looking forward to. Because if we put the same show on the field that we did last year, none of those dudes are coming.
I think Harburg...
They at least don't want to come play for that offense.
No.
I would predict Harburg and Kalen will throw more passes than Raiola.
Really? You really think so?
Yeah.
Even with Harburg being the returning starter and
I think they want to make sure that he...
guy.
You talked about it in the previous show, Matt, as far as what does he do when the live bullets come out? Like, does he revert back? I think that they want to make sure that the old stuff doesn't come back and have him throw it around a little bit.
That's fair.
I totally agree with.
If I would put this number at 15.5, I'd probably go with the under with Dylan Raiola.
If you think all 5 quarterbacks are going to play, I'd probably lower mine a little bit too. I'm still taking the over. But
yeah. I also don't know how long they're going to make the game. Like, how many drives are they going to give each one of these guys?
But as far as
they're going to get,
I kind of figured we'd see at least a solid 45 minutes out of them.
If we're gonna see 2 drives apiece from these guys, which you got to think of, we're playing both sides of the ball. It's not just one. I would think we're probably erring at least towards the 3 drives, and that's got to be you got to think 4 to 6 passes per drive, probably at least. I'm going over.
Okay.
Even at 15, I think I'd go over.
Do you think I should change the number to 15? That way, at least we're not all 3 at a time.
No, I feel safe where you are.
Maybe 13.5 makes sense. 13.5 or 14.5. Where do you go if it's 14.5? Does that drive you down?
I'll put it at 14.5, and I'll just take the under just to be different.
I don't think any of us were questioning you being different.
I'm different.
Second question is longest running play not by a quarterback. And I'm doing that, and I'll get into why I'm excluding quarterbacks. I know Kalen and Raiola are not going to run much anyway because they're not, but Harburg is still a mobile quarterback. I'm going to put the number at, and again, this isn't a touchdown, just longest running play, 22.5 yards. We had 1 run over 20 yards in the spring game last year. It was a 23-yard run by Harburg. It was the only run we had over 20 yards. Nebraska was 3rd in the conference last year with 19 20-plus yard runs. And of the running backs last year, they only had 6 of those, 19. So the longest, and they've talked about it every once in a while, how they are trying to get more explosive plays in the running game and stuff like that. I think Rhule on Saturday talked about how they had a couple of explosive run plays. Everybody kind of has a little bit of a difference as far as what constitutes an explosive run play. I'm going to go with 20 yards, so 22.5 yards, longest run play.
I'm going to go under on this one for the biggest reason that I don't think that the defense is doing as poorly against this offense as we've been hearing about.
I agree.
I agree completely.
I think our defense is going to continue to outshow them.
Yeah, I agree completely, especially with the fact that we know for sure they're doing 0 contact for the quarterbacks, 2-hand touch. I don't. When you factor how good our defense was against the explosive run plays last year, coupled with the fact that even if Harburg does, like a lot of Harburg's plays where he was explosive in the run game last season, came after first or second contact.
And he's not a running back.
And Andy's not a running back. So yeah, no, I'm out on that. I'm under.
Well, and like I said, I didn't say only running backs. I just said no quarterbacks. So maybe if there's like an end around to one of the speedy wide receivers.
Still not Harburg was my point.
I know. I just want to make sure that's clarified.
Yeah.
No, and I get that. I don't see it happening.
Well, then I'm just going to be
different, Matt.
I'm going to be different again and say over, mainly because I think that there's going to be one in the second half where some of the scrubs are
anything can happen
and
for
somebody's
sure.
just going to break one.
For sure.
Yeah. Again, all off season, all spring season, we've been hearing about all these long touchdown passes. So longest touchdown pass, 50.5 yards.
Ooh,
that's high.
50.5.
All we hear about is these 70s and 80s and 60-something and 58.
We've heard about like 7 total.
That's a lot for 3
Rhule.
weeks.
Rhule talked about how they had like 15 touchdowns in that one scrimmage.
Yeah, but he didn't say they were all.
No, but
50 plus fucking yards.
They're bombing the ball down the field,
Okay.
and these guys are getting open.
Okay, can we change that? Because you said touchdown passes, right?
Yeah.
Not just total passes.
Just one longest,
Can we say
No,
touchdowns
no.
off of explosive plays or touchdowns off
Nope.
explosive
I like
passes?
it. I like
longest touchdown pass.
I like where it's at, and I'm taking the over. And I think
Ooh.
it comes from Dylan Raiola.
I'm going to go under just for sheer odds purposes.
Yeah, that's fine. Boring.
I think we're going to have a lot of explosive plays. I think that our defense, don't get me wrong, I don't think that our offense is playing poorly, but I think our defense is either not being talked up enough. You don't know what mental games the coaches are trying to play with them right now, but I just don't see with the ability to tackle everybody else but the quarterbacks. I just don't see them giving up that kind of explosiveness.
We've already talked about how they're going to want to show this offense off.
Yeah.
And I'm going with the over because of that.
And the only thing that you can really say struggled last year for our defense was our backfield.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, our DBs, they got to either show up or get shown off a little
We're
bit.
hearing about how good they are.
They are good. We also have crazy speed for wide receivers right now and a quarterback that can throw the ball 85 yards.
And they are really good. And we've still been hearing about all these long touchdown passes in practice.
Yes.
It's true. Hey, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not going to talk me into it, though.
I'm not trying to.
I know that usually you can talk me into it.
I prefer to be on the opposite side, so you're staying where you are.
Here's a question for you on this. How much better do you think our defense would have been last year if our offense had been serviceable in practice?
Repeat that again.
Thinking about how good our defense was last year.
Okay.
They were going up against shit competition in practice every week.
Yes.
How much better do you think they would have been last year if they were going up against good competition?
Difficult to say.
Yeah.
Follow-up question to that is, how much better do you think it's making them this year that they're actually going up against serviceable competition?
I think some of what happened last year with the shambles that our defense was in prior to last year, I think some of their success came early on from getting that confidence in practice.
Just
of beating up on the offense.
Shitting on a really, really...
Just understanding
really
that they were capable of it.
That's fair.
I think them getting better this year is more about, we did a show on it as far as the third down conversion stuff and getting off the field.
Getting fine-tuned.
We've talked about the late game ability of this defense, giving up things, points and yards and everything else, not getting the ball back, takeaways. We're starting to hear more and more of that. I think it's this staff pointing out the negatives of a really good part of the team is motivating the shit out of them much more than anything else.
I sure hope so.
Now, to all of that point, I think you make a good point that competition breeds excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it can't hurt.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't mean that it's zero. I just look at this other stuff more.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I was purely curious what you thought on that one.
Question number 4. I picked 5 people, receivers and tight ends, just because, again, we're not sure how much Banks is going to play. Also, if you do like 4 people and then you say everybody else is an option, we could have the 18th wide receiver on our roster, play the entire fourth quarter, get a shit ton of yards, and it would just be everybody else. So out of these 5 people that I'm going to name, who's going to have more receiving yards? Nair, Fedoni, Lloyd, Doss, or Ja'Cory Barney.
You want to go first? Do you want me to?
I'm going Lloyd.
God damn it! I should have went first.
I'm going Lloyd. My second would be Ja'Cory Barney.
Okay.
I'm also going Lloyd. My second would probably be Fedoni. I expect to see that much of an improvement from him. Because if he catches all the passes he's thrown, he's going to get some yards.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with the guy that I brought up in our previous show with the wide receivers. I'm going to go with Ja'Cory Barney.
Yeah.
Also because with him being a true freshman, they're going to want him out on the field more than probably these other guys. So I think he's going to have more opportunities.
Cool.
I think
kind of cheating there a little bit, but
the only other person that I think you look to, you picked some good ones, but Nair, if they're really trying to show him off or let him get more play, because we already talked about in our previous show that Banks probably isn't going to be out there that much. He's also not a run after the catch guy, and it sounds to me like they're having a lot of success down the field with some of the speedsters getting in space.
Yeah.
So that's why I went with the two that I went with, and Barney's the same way.
Yep.
But Nair kind of plays in that element too, and I want to see, like I said, I want to see if he's actually out there to show off, or if they're going to be like, you know what, we've seen enough of you.
DJ going with 2 because you can never pick just one.
No, my pick is Lloyd.
So is mine because I make fun of him, but I did the same thing.
Yeah. Question number 5. This was, again, the precursor of the season last year in the spring game. Fumbles by the offense. Not lost, just fumbles.
Just fumbles and not interceptions.
Oh, no, I'm going to get to interceptions later,
Oh,
but
no.
just fumbles. We had 8 fumbles in the spring game last year. We lost 6 of them. We averaged 2.5 fumbles per game last year. So I'm just going to put the number at 2.5.
I don't think that anything that we did last year on offense is translatable or a precursor or anything to do with this year. So strictly because of that, I'm going to take the under, because I think that number is ridiculously high for any team that's not turning over the ball 30 fucking times a season.
And I'm going to go ahead and take the over for the fact that it's a practice and it's springtime.
It's practice,
And-
springtime. Also, the quarterbacks aren't getting hit.
Anything can happen. Well,
And Jeff Sims isn't there.
I already said the over. I'll take the over.
He fucked himself.
I forgot that Jeff Sims existed for a second. I was in bliss.
I'm saying he's going to Arizona State. I was like, what? Why?
Well, he
Arizona?
warm
visited there. He hasn't said anything yet, but
Anybody who likes to party wants to visit there.
He just wanted to see how well the ball bounced on the ground.
in the sand. I'm going to go with the over as well, just because I almost just want to be like, I'll believe it when I see it. Like they've talked about it. Satterfield said it the other day about how he didn't. Sipple asked him, how are the turnovers? Are they getting better? And he basically just like, I'll just say that they're getting better. And I kind of just left it at that. Like,
So the way
I don't want you to ask me that question anymore. So I'm just going to say that it's getting better. It's like, what does that really mean? Like
the way that I took that was completely different than you, because I took that as, yes, it's a hell of a lot better, but give me all the wood to knock on, because why would you jinx me like that?
Yeah. No,
That's the way I took it.
And everybody
yeah,
in sports is superstitious, so I could totally see that.
Yeah.
He was like looking around, like panicked. He's like knock on everything.
What's this podium made out of?
It was so funny too, because he
was like, "There's not enough wood around here."
Him. He was like, he wanted to say like, why the would you ask me that? But he stopped himself. He's like,
He was having fun with it, though.
I don't want you to ask me that question. I don't want you to ask me that question anymore.
He was having fun with it. It wasn't serious.
Everybody
It was
wants to
funny.
forget that turnovers exist from last year.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The last question I have is takeaways by the defense. So this could be fumbles or interceptions. And we only had 14 of them last year, and it's been a big topic of conversation, not just us giving up the ball, but also us taking the ball away. I'm going to put the number, again, it's the same thing as the fumbles, 2.5.
Last week it was 2. The scrimmage last week, from what I heard, was 2. I'm going to go with the over, because I think there's going to be an opportunity against some of the non-scholarship quarterbacks getting the ball up there.
Okay.
I can't take the over on the one and not take the over on the other, so I'm taking the over.
Well,
Do you think we're going to see 5 plus
other-
turnovers in this game?
but the other one was fumbles, not necessarily lost fumbles. So it doesn't mean that you're losing all the fumbles.
I know.
I'm just saying.
What do you mean 5? He's saying total turnovers.
Never mind.
So,
Yes.
yeah, I see 3. Yeah.
Do you think I
See,
should
in
jump
my-
the number up from
In my mind, I
2.5?
think they're picks. No, I think that number.
Okay.
I think that
Just-
number is good, but I think they're picks. Personally,
Yeah, I think that number's. I think both numbers make sense.
the fumbles I don't get because the quarterbacks aren't getting hit. Like I just don't see it being that high. But
Yeah, but they weren't last year. We had 8.
yeah, but Anthony Grant's also not there.
Well, but still.
Anthony Grant, I think, dropped 3 of them last year.
I'm going with the over 2. Also, not just because of the non-scholarship guys, but also the main 2 true freshmen guys are true freshmen, and this is their first.
Yeah.
It's not their first scrimmage because they've already had 2 other ones. This is their first one with a stadium full of fans.
Yeah.
And
It might not be entirely full, but they'll see 70,000 there.
The nerves can be, start to kick in a little bit, and also if they play a few more starters on defense that maybe get a little more exotic and stuff like that than what they've been seeing in all these other scrimmages, I think they're going to throw a handful of interceptions. So,
yeah.
The other thing that might factor into that, you said that was your last question,
yeah.
right? So game time on Saturday, it's actually looking like we're going to see some thunderstorms. Potential. At least as of right now, they're saying 82 with a 55% chance of precipitation. Calling for thunderstorms in the early afternoon. Yeah, no, that actually makes me rethink my fumbles just a little bit, but I'm going to still stick with the under.
Okay.
Last year, there were 66,045 total fans in attendance. You guys think it's going over or under that?
It'll go under that.
Under?
Yeah.
Think it was just too much first-year excitement?
They've sold a little bit more than 50,000 right now, and especially if it's going to rain, they're not going to have 15,000 walk-ups.
I agree with that.
So, yeah, it'll be under that.
I agree with that. Anything else you're excited about for this weekend?
No, I just have one other question for you. This isn't an over-under question, but whatever. Is there anything that can happen in this game, good or bad, and not counting injuries, because those are, you can't predict those, that will change how you see the upcoming season? Is there anything that you can see in this game that is going to be like, oh, I might need to, kind of like saw all the fumbles last year. Maybe we should have been like, oh.
Maybe actually paid attention.
Yeah.
One thing for me, and it's actually a good thing. If I see Harburg absolutely light it up through the air, that'll make me rethink the quarterback situation a little bit. That is probably the only thing I can think of.
Okay.
That's a really good one.
Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely fucking not.
Mhm.
But
For me, I feel like the only thing that's going to really change my outlook for this upcoming season is going to be trench play. Like seeing the way that the offensive line, if we're seeing real full like 1v1 units, if we're not seeing that, you're not going to be able to tell anything. Which I don't know if they're gonna show any true 1v1, at least at the very beginning. That'd be awesome if they did. But if they do that, and we're seeing the offensive line hold and really give our guys, especially the freshmen, a minute to actually get a ball out, that would make me feel extra comfortable with the fact, like, I feel like we have a lot of experience coming back on our offensive line, but we don't know where they're going to plug and play. We don't know, who's going to be where, what's going to happen. That's like my biggest question mark right now, outside of just the fact that we're going to start a freshman at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And if we see good time and we see an offense that can get wide receivers open, that's going to make me way more excited. But basically, I'm fully expecting the defense to dominate this spring game, and that's that.
Yeah, I like the Harburg thing.
I do. I really like that.
I don't know that there's really going to be, because they plug and play so much and they mix teams up so much in these spring games. Like,
well, all of spring. I mean, they've been playing with their 3 teams for all of it's been pretty much the whole springtime.
I can't imagine something happening in this game that changes how I think the next season's going to go. Maybe there will be. I'm not saying it's an absolute, but I don't know. Like,
what if Rhule goes out there and literally just balls out? Like, it looks like we got Patty Mahomes running.
Then everybody's going to feel confirmed that they thought we got the second coming.
Yeah.
Like, that's what everybody is hoping to see. Nobody's going to be shocked by that.
I will still say it was still just a glorified scrimmage.
I was going to say, I think I would be shocked by that, actually.
One thing we haven't talked about, and this is kind of just dawning on me, do you think we can tell anything about our coaching staff from the spring game? Maybe how Satterfield calls plays?
We might be able to know a little bit more about what our offense is going to look like.
Maybe, but again, especially with this one being televised and people there,
also
you try to dumb down your offense.
Sure. Yeah.
you're going to show more in those other scrimmages than you would in this scrimmage.
That's
I'm not saying he's going to show nothing, because we already talked about how there might be some packages for Ramir Johnson to do a couple of certain things. And there might be a trick play just for fun for the fans and stuff like that.
Yeah, but they've got to show a little bit to these recruits that are coming in.
But they're not going to overload anything. So I don't know if
it's also still spring.
I just mean, if you're thinking about Satterfield's offense looking so different this coming year, do we see any of that?
I don't know.
The other thing from a coaching perspective that's going to change between spring and when the actual games start in the fall, you're going to all of a sudden have this unlimited number of paid full-time coaches that can be on the field coaching. Mm-hmm. That's going to have.
True.
When is it supposed to take effect in June or something like that?
I don't remember.
But it's supposed to be here by fall ball, and that's going to change a lot of things. Mm-hmm. You're going to see probably a specific kicking coach get hired. You're going to see specialty coaches all over the place that are currently working as analysts.
True.
So that'll be another interesting thing to just see.
Can have Bill Belichick on the field for a little bit.
No.
Hey, maybe Bill wants to be wants to be.
No, he doesn't. He's making way too much money going from school to school.
We got it. No, we appreciate you guys. We're excited about the spring game. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, follow, share it with your friends. Let's fucking go Big Red.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.